So hello fellow Earthlings, this is Earthling 6455463728, and I wanted to talk about the utter uselessness of contracts. Now, that's probably a little bit of an exaggeration. Contracts are useful, but of course not as useful as people think they are. Right, introductions. I'm Earthling 64 yada yada yada, and I wanted to make a channel where I could just talk about what I wanted to talk about. And if I ever got famous, I would like to be like Sia. You know, you can walk down the street and most people don't know it's you, because your face isn't plastered all over the media. And now there's always levels to that kind of stuff, meaning that you can be locally famous, you can be nationally famous, you can be internationally famous. So, you know, nobody's saying that I thought that I might be like Michael Jackson or something like that, but some people might enjoy that, and other people, I think it was, what's that guy's name? I don't know. He was in Ghostbusters. Anyway, he was like, if you think that you might like being rich and famous, try rich first and see if you prefer that. Anyway, I have a couple of degrees, I traveled a bit, and I was in the reserves for a short period of time. That's me. Now, the utter uselessness of contracts. So, contracts are useful. Now, you know, you're going to say, oh, geez, this guy's being a hypocrite. But let me tell you where they're useful. Contracts are useful for people who think that they mean something. That's really why or when contracts are the most useful. If you do a contract with someone, you know, on a piece of paper, both of you all sign, and that means something to that person, then that's the usefulness of the contract. If the contract is meaningless to the person, then, you know, this is not like a lock that you put on your car that physically prevents someone from doing something. It's not like a fence that you put around your property that at least gives people a little bit of a problem if they want to try to get into your property. There's nothing physical about this. You know, most contract disputes are going to be in civil law, meaning that you have to sue the person and then take it to a judge. And then at that point, what is the contract really for? The contract is to prove, well, not even to prove. It's not even to prove. It's to suggest to the judge that, hey, this person knew what they were getting involved with, and they are breaking the contract. And then the judge or jury or whoever have to decide that, okay, this person did break it. But so you're thinking, okay, it's a lot of trouble, and I spend my money, I sue the person, I take them to court, and I win. So what are you talking about, Earthling? Okay, so you win. Now what? What do you mean, now what, Earthling? Well, what I mean is, now what? Suppose the person doesn't pay. They have a judgment against them, and they don't pay. You still have to go do something after that. And let me give you an example of what I mean. I don't know if O.J. Simpson had a contract with Shapiro, whatever Shapiro, that guy's name is. But he still owes, I think it's Ben Shapiro, not Ben Shapiro, mixing up that guy, the other Shapiro. He still owes him money. I hope I'm not getting the guy's name, because O.J. had a bunch of lawyers, right? But yeah, they found him somewhere. He wasn't rich, he wasn't famous anymore, he was just, I think he was still practicing law, maybe a little bit. And they asked him, like, you know, are you on good terms with OJ? And he's like, no, because he owes me money. So here it is that OJ, thanks to this guy and other guys, was able to get off this thing that everybody knows that he did. And at the end of it, OJ still owes the guy money, and he can't collect on that. Another example, also involving OJ, and this is not a contract, this is just, it's a civil law thing, right? So the family of OJ's ex-wife, they won a civil case against OJ to say that he owes them however many millions of dollars as a result of the death of their daughter. So in a civil case, he lost the civil case, and he lost a judgment. They can't get that money. Yes, they got his books, the book that he was trying to sell, to come out with. They got his memorabilia, I suppose. They got lots of stuff, but they can't collect on that judgment. And again, I know I'm going a little bit, I'm not talking about contracts here, but with respect to fines, the government levies fines against people for whatever infringement of this, that, or the other. And yes, again, it's not a contract, but if you look at the statistics that are out there, the government doesn't always get their money. There's a vast array of instances where the government cannot collect the money for the fines. I mean, even ordinary people, oh, they get a ticket, they can rack up, you hear stories about people racking up all of these tickets. Now again, not directly related to a contractual dispute, but it shows you what happens when you go through the courts for some of these things that are not criminal. At the end of the day, it is oftentimes not worth the contract itself. It's not worth the ink it was written in, the printer that printed it, the room. It is usually oftentimes worth absolutely nothing. It's just, for most people, especially if you like lend somebody a certain amount of money, it's just I hope that I can scare this person into doing what they're supposed to do if they don't really want to do it. If it's somebody who really, wants to play fair, then fine. You don't even need a contract, but you never know, right? But there's going to be those people who, they may not want to do it. I mean, they may not want to do what they're contractually obliged to do or they agree to do. They may not, but then you pull out this piece of paper, you have them sign it, and they've never been to court, so they're like, okay, well, no, wrong expression. They're not like, they're like, oh, this is serious. I've never been to court. I've had a habit of screwing certain people, but I don't really want to go to court. So, if the contract says this, and I break this, I don't want to go through all of that. But then you get to the people who, for whatever reason, maybe they've been around family members who have broken contracts, and they've been taken to court, and they realize, so wait a minute, really? They can't do you anything. And even if they do something to you and you have no money, they can't collect. So they can't throw you in prison for not paying even what the court obliges you to pay because you had a judgment against the person. Oh, okay. And we're not even talking about con men. We're not even talking about con men who make a livelihood of using aliases and all of that other stuff. They have no concern or fear or anything with respect to, breaking a contract. Whether it's for the long con, if you know somebody for years and years, or the short con, or whatever it is, and they screw you, as they say. They screw like a bad word. They're not concerned. That's their business. They might go to prison for one out of the thousands of bad things that they do, if it is a criminal offense that they actually commit. But if, as in many instances, it's just a civil issue, then they know that nobody goes to prison for civil issues. You have to get a sheriff. And this is the other thing. This is the other thing that I haven't even addressed. When you want to take somebody to court, you have to, what's the word? You have to serve them, right? So you have to serve them with the paperwork to say that you're being sued. And I don't know, there used to be movies that would make a joke out of the process of serving people. And even now, you can go look in the media and find people who ran away from the people who were assigned to serve them the court papers to come to court because they're being sued. And the joke is quite simple. All right, I'll go into it and I'll give my own examples. I've sued somebody before because it was a verbal agreement. It wasn't on paper or anything like that. And I could not get, I guess it was the cops who were supposed to go and serve this person, and I could barely get the police to serve the guy for, to come to court. Like, I would call the station to get the person, the cop who was assigned to do that stuff, and they were literally like, do you want to do it? And I'm like, Jesus, really? Even up to like days before, because I would keep checking, they weren't doing it. And if you look at some of those movies from the past where you go up to the person who's supposed to serve this thing to the is it the defendant, they go up to the person and they say, hey, are you Roger Sparks? And the person says, who's asking? Now, if the person who's supposed to serve the paperwork to them says, well, this is I can't remember, like a notice of you're being sued or whatever it is, are they really gonna say, yeah, I'm George Sparks? Really? Because I've heard that people just say, oh, he's not here, and then that's the end of it. And the person keeps coming back trying to get this person to say that they put it in their hand or whatever it is that they have to do, and then take the picture to prove that they have actually served the person the court appearance, whatever it is. So you have to jump through so many hoops in order just to get the person in court, just to see if they will find for you that in your opinion, their opinion, that yes, this person did break the contract. Great, you get a judgment. Then if the person still doesn't want to pay, O.J. Simpson still owes his lawyers from like how many years ago? It isn't that easy to get money from somebody. And worse yet, if it's an amount of money that it's too small to be worth getting a lawyer, and but it's too big maybe to let it just go by and just say, then you have to make this court appearance. And of course, you don't know exactly when your matter might be called. And then, even then, in the case where we're suing the person and your matter gets called, they just say like, hey, did you have a lawyer? Do you have a lawyer? No, you don't have a lawyer? Well, boop, we're going to put this off until you both have lawyers, or you both have this, or you both have that. When I went to court, that's exactly what happened. It was just case after case after case was postponed over and over and over. And in the cases where I lent people money, which naturally, once you've done it, you're never going to do it again, if you haven't learned your lesson. And I didn't really learn my lesson the one time, and then I got it again, lending somebody some money. And yeah, I had a thing. They'd signed it. They didn't care. They had lent the money that I lent them to somebody else, and they figured that only when that person paid them back, they would pay me back. So like, I unknowingly had lent somebody else, and they didn't see that that was their responsibility to pay me back. So yeah. And even for people who can afford to go through these kinds of things, it can drag on for years. That is not like a fence. It's not like a lock. It's not like, buying a dog to protect your property. It's just a hope. It's a wish and a dream. That's what contracts really seem to be. Anyway, that's my 2 cents. And like, subscribe, comment, unlike, share, any of those things, especially if you would want somebody to do that for your stuff. Have a good one. Peace.